my God, that was so weak. Somebody needs some double espressos in the crowd. That, or you're really just not looking forward to hearing us talk. Welcome, Singapore. Hanging out in the morning in Singapore. So, I'm Zach Piester. I'm the Chief Development Officer of Intrepid Ventures. We're Asia's longest running blockchain venture studio. Hanging out with Pavel and Hope. 30 seconds. Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Pavel. I'm CEO, co-founder of Bluzelle. We are a decentralized database storage. So just think about, you've heard of Oracle and IBM with their databases. We're doing that for the decentralized internet.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hope. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Eximchain. Eximchain stands for Export Import on the blockchain. We're building the first public blockchain that supports privacy, scalability, and security to help enterprise to bring blockchain technology into their supply chain. And we're launching our mainnet in about a month. Very excited.
Cool. So before we get into actual questions, Hope is a reality TV star in San Francisco, was hanging out with Tim Draper, who says Bitcoin's going to be $250,000 by the end of the year. I don't know what reality that is, but like you are a reality TV star in the Valley.
Well, actually, we were just talking backstage. So I was shooting an interview in front of camera for a reality show called Meet the Drippers. So the Dripper family has a big name back in the Valley. So they have season 2 have a new session called Crypto Corner. So that's what Zach was mentioning.
Okay, cool. So these are the crypto survivors up here. We've all been in the space a long time. Markets are ugly. And for those of you that don't know me, I've always preached about building things that matter, right? Instead of building crypto kitties and other things that really don't matter, how do you actually build applications and solutions that power new economies? So with that in mind, tell me about decentralized storage and how you are incorporating blockchain technologies into what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Okay, so if we go back to current database systems, overall we have a big data management problem. We're producing way more data than the world's ever seen. It's growing exponentially, more people getting connected. So if you've been reading any of the news the past 6 months, more and more data breaches, data manipulation from companies like Facebook. British Airways got a hack last week. So this is happening more and more. And what we're saying is that the current centralized bodies that govern all this data management, like current databases, if we use blockchain principles, so we're not a blockchain, all we do is take the concept of decentralization from blockchain, say let's split up all the data and spread it around a bunch of nodes around the world. So now, to take it over, you have to take over the whole network. So you won't have this one area that you can go into, like current databases, and steal everything. And then we can also prove that the data is pure and has integrity because our own consensus algorithms will validate that if it's Zach's application that's running, he knows only he's touched it and everything's proven out of any data that he's submitted on there. So really, like Zach's saying, is we've just taken blockchain principles of consensus and decentralization and applied it to a whole new database infrastructure.
But all right, so we've had this conversation before. So distributed decentralized systems have been around for a long time. So what you're describing isn't all that new or innovative, or is it?
Well, distributed has been around, and then a decentralized method, the pure way how we done. Like, so one of our advisors is Prashant Malik, and he was actually the creator of Apache Cassandra, which is one of the distributed databases that came out of Facebook. And he sees that, hey, this is the next evolution of the decentralization. Having payment methods through tokens will make it much more efficient. And then the whole thing of the consensus algorithms is the next evolution because distributed ones don't have that.
So how are you securing your network, right, and your consensus mechanism? So in order for the blockchain to work, you have to have consensus mechanisms where you have to have a lot of participants in the network to secure the network. So how are you, your consensus mechanism to actually secure the network without utilizing a blockchain network?
Yeah, so we've actually we're building our own custom one. So, I mean, this goes beyond me, but it's a PBFT, fault tolerance algorithm that our own team is building. And then the whole goal is that, hey, if more users join up the network, almost simple plug and play that they can add their computer, their PlayStation, their mobile phone onto our network. That could be a storage unit, and then our own consensus algorithm, how it operates, would verify everything. The other thing is, the main one is we're also applying swarming techniques. So to make this really simple, right now, Bitcoin, what it does is when it validates a transaction, and the reason it takes so long is because the entire universe in Bitcoin has to come to consensus. What we're saying is that, yeah, the universe exists, but there's a bunch of galaxies that make up that universe. So we have the galaxies, what we call a swarm. At that swarm level that we get consensus, that keeps the latency and the speed and the scalability there.
Okay, so I'm going to dive in deeper on that here in a minute. Did you have a question on that,
Yes,
Hope?
actually, as a potential user of Bluzelle solution, right? I have a question. So first of all, I want to clear up a misunderstanding, because a lot of people, when they talk about blockchain, think about how revolution it is. They think now we are here at a 100% centralized world, and in 5 years we will go 100% decentralized. That is not true.
No.
We are at distributed world. And here is the decentralized world. And in 10 years, maybe we will get here.
But also to add to that, I mean, Zach, have had those conversations. Not everything has to be decentralized.
No.
No, blockchain everything.
So I want to ask, because nowadays, because we do enterprise blockchain solutions, so we are basically, we have built the infrastructure to allow clients spin up a few hundred nodes globally distributed on AWS. So if we integrate with your solution, some of our clients may be using AWS, some Ali Cloud, some maybe Tencent Cloud. So how are we looking at all the cloud providers?
So let's back the bus up a little bit with you, Hope, and talk a little bit more about what you've actually built. And I'm really, really excited, right? Because you're one of the very few companies that are actually launching mainnet with real world products, right?
Well, we're hoping that more and more companies will be doing that.
We all hope, but so tell me more about your offering and the problem that you're solving, and how you're incorporating decentralized technologies into your offering to make it better, more efficient, save money, whatever.
Yeah, sure. So we are actually building our own blockchain, our own consensus algorithm, and on top of that, our smart contract SDK, which basically bridge the application layer and the blockchain layer. So we started the project since 2015. So from day one, we're trying to think about what kind of technology can actually help enterprise to adopt blockchain faster. So I think when we started at the beginning, I was so excited about technology. I sent out 500 emails telling the small business back in China, this is really cool, we have blockchain technology, and got one reply. Well, now it's almost on the opposite side. Well, too many people think that blockchain can do everything, but what we realize is that for lots of companies who don't have in-house blockchain developer, it's a fail to start for them to launch. So the infrastructure as code that we're offering, we basically provide the infrastructure that can help company easily manage, deploy, and manage a globally distributed network across 14 countries and a few data centers. So we also provide API and key management tools so that companies can securely sign and process transactions with a track record.
So why did you build your own?
Yeah, because we believe in the...
Say it.
Because if we look at the current blockchain infrastructure at this moment, they are not really they're basically not really ready for enterprise adoption. So if you ask what we're doing uniquely, just 3 words: we're building the first privacy-focused, publicly available, and enterprise-ready blockchain solutions. Yeah.
So how decentralized is it in terms of? So again, we have public blockchains like Bitcoin, and then we have permissioned blockchains. How are you actually structuring it so that you have the degrees of security that a public has, but also meets the needs of the
very
enterprise?
good question. That's a very, very good question. So we are actually doing a public permission chain. So everyone who wants to be voted in to participate in our consensus algorithm have to go through rigorous KYC. So we basically tie identity with photo and fingerprint, which everyone who wants to participate to vote. And in order to guarantee a finite amount of network security for the first 4 to 5 years, we actually start with the centralized network, all controlled by us, and will require the entire network to gradually vote in a new node every month, and the vote will done through quadratic way, meaning that if you make one vote, you pay 1 token. If I make 3 votes, I pay 9 tokens. And at the end of each voting round, all the tokens used to vote will be equally distributed across every participant, meaning that no one can actually use their wealth to control the network.
But you still have actors that, if their interests changed, can actually compromise the network, right?
Not really, because at the beginning we start with 100% Eximchain controlled, but everyone else.
So what's to keep you, right? Now I recognize that you're probably not a bad actor, but what if somebody on your team wanted to play as a bad actor? How do you minimize the bad actor and the human factors in a permissioned blockchain environment?
Yeah, so we have like quite a rigorous, so we basically adopt the enterprise grade level of security. So all the network security and the key management and the API, everything, we are basically spending millions of dollars on infrastructure every year. So especially at the beginning of the first 4 or 5 years to guarantee the network security. Yeah.
But networks aren't secure, right?
Sorry?
Networks are typically not secure. There's always bad actors. So how are you, in this permissioned environment, going to keep the bad actors and the security incidents to a minimum? Because again, in the public blockchain world, it's secure. And the more private we become, the less secure, in principle, it becomes.
Yeah, but I think basically it's a choice, it's a balance between how fast, right, you want your blockchain and how fast you want it to become decentralized and how secure you want it to be, right? So we have done 8 rounds of large-scale stress testing to determine the initial network size that we know that we're comfortable. This is the most secure we can get so far.
So far.
Yeah.
And so when you look at what the future holds in terms of the next set of milestones and moving from centralized to less centralized, what's that timeline?
4 to 5 years.
4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Why so long?
Because we need to gradually decentralize the network while maintaining the network security. So there's mathematic proof and calculation how many years when we bootstrap the network, we have guaranteed network security for enterprise client while we gradually decentralize the network.
So in this question about security and centralization versus decentralization, how are you addressing this at Bluzelle?
So the way we explain it is let's just say, Hope gives us an email list. We put it onto a plate. We take that plate and we replicate it 100 times. Then we take all those plates and just smash them into pieces. Each of those pieces will be stored on a separate node on our network. So if somebody hacks in and gets into one of the nodes, somehow, all they got was, it might just say Pavel. It has no context to it, don't know my last name, bank account, nothing. They'd actually have to take over the entire network on its own and break into a separate encryption level for all the hundreds and hundreds of nodes that we have to put the puzzle back together. That's far too intensive to make it worth anybody's while to do. So that's how our decentralized storage works.
So what can we do with Bluzelle that we already can't do today?
Well, for developers, let's not say we, right? We're talking about developers and when they spin up databases. So one is they like the aspect of it being completely serverless, that they have no hardware to manage and spin up. They can deploy us in 10 minutes and get going. Second is they like the security aspect because they're worried about all these data breaches happening on the current systems like MongoDB, Redis, and everything. The other one, which was interesting that we never really thought about, we knew it was there, but the feedback we're getting, and this is not from blockchain developers, this is from general developers, because 99.9% of the world still doesn't make blockchain apps. The other thing was data integrity, knowing that it hasn't been tampered, it is their data, and no one has been able to manipulate it. So those 3 assurances have actually is what's having our early adopters come on and say, I want to test this thing out.
So what are you most concerned about, right? So if we look 12, 18, 24 months out, in terms of developing the company and developing the technology, what worries you the most?
Mine is, right now, I'm just focused completely on user acquisition. I'm not worried about our tech team. They're smart, they'll get the things done. But I also don't want to wait till the product's fully done to have that customer feedback. So the thing I focus and our team right now is just every day is like, the market is like, how can we get users? How can we build our acquisition funnels? How can we get to, let's say, mainstream developers now earlier because they are coming to us? most people signing up on our site don't know Solidity in the blockchain languages. So we're like, okay, that's a market there who wants to do it. So for the next, let's say, 6 to 10 months before our mainnet's out, I want to get that early adopters in and then understanding it, because then once it's out, they can just spread the word. So it's really about users, proper product management.
Fair enough. And for you, Hope, when you look at, same question, right? The next 12, 18, 24 months, what are the things that worry you the most?
Yeah, so what worries me most is a little bit different than when we started. Not a lot of enterprise heard about blockchain before. I think now for us, it's really to educate our potential customers what are the smart use cases in supply chain that can be adopted and how they can use our tool to manage that. Because there are a lot of the issues that current blockchain, the world are still experimenting. So what Bluzelle is working on is a very, very important issue that we'll be happy to collaborate. So before the data storage, before the scalability, and then the privacy issues are fully solved, there are a lot of use cases that we can't support because we know that if we support, they can only do one transaction or dummy transaction, but it cannot be done in a scalable way. So those are the challenging parts.
Question for you, because we focus more on developers and knowing that we'll go for the smaller guys. Now, enterprises, they have trouble. They went trouble from going from on-premise to off-premise, then to cloud. How is that leap? How are you guys going to close that gap or cross that chasm for them to go from cloud, which a lot of them still aren't, and saying, no, forget cloud. We're going, because you're aiming at enterprise, we're going blockchain. Like that seems like a big hurdle.
But even for now, what we're building now is the connection. We have built the connection between our blockchain and cloud for AWS and also Tencent Cloud. We actually do not support nodes running on personal PCs. We give them the entire enterprise tool, based on HashiCorp, along with end-to-end encryption vault and API, as well as the enterprise-grade tool to manage their globally distributed network. So we're actually, the main business we're supporting the infrastructure is on cloud, actually, because we don't think that will change. I don't think that will change. It's a very good question.
So then who are you competing against, right? Are you competing against mindsets within an enterprise, or are you actually competing against legacy thinking in the industry?
I actually, I am competing, we are competing with the thoughts from blockchain. No one wants to try blockchain to blockchain can do everything. We're trying, because we build our own blockchain, right? If we design garbage use case, if we shard useless data, if we design stupid smart contract logic, it will be our blockchain that suffers, right? It will be slow and then no one uses. It will impact all the users, right? So challenge is for us actually, to really talk to the customer to see. We actually now instead of just jumping on the use cases, we actually spend a lot of time, interviewing and understanding if the customer is ready to adopt it in production.
Well, that's a novel idea, like a blockchain company actually talking to a customer.
No, it's
it never happens, right?
No, but we have to do it, right?
Could you pitch your product without even saying blockchain in it to the customer?
Yeah. So actually, the first proof of concept that we did is a sourcing platform back in China. They have 35,000 business users. So the idea is that what we want to do, we want to build the product for the platform, right? And there are 35,000 business users. If they decide to adopt, they just see a new functionality on blockchain. They don't really need to know. Maybe they will tell the customer it's blockchain, but it does not matter. So what itself should be the value, shouldn't be the blockchain itself. Right. This is what I learned when I sent 500 emails, got one, right? So I think this is just like the internet thing, right? So my mom, she does not understand TCP/IP, right? No one tells her TCP/IP, but she just uses internet, right? So I think it depends on what level. If we're talking about some of our clients, like the Fortune 500 company, they really need to know what you are putting in their system, then yes, we need to talk about blockchain. But for those, even for them, their suppliers and users, a lot of them, I don't think they even need to tell them it's blockchain.
Yeah, and I think that's really relevant. So certainly in our discussions with enterprises, blockchain is but a tool. And it's part of your toolkit. And a lot of times we don't even say blockchain in this because it's just how do you actually solve a business problem for an organization, right? At the end of the day, that's all what we're all trying to do.
Yeah, and I do agree that a lot of what you guys mentioned, a lot of, especially enterprise world, is just if all the companies know each other and trust each other, it's much better to use an existing centralized database with permission instead of a blockchain. Yeah.
Sometimes.
A lot of time. A lot of
All right.
time.
One last question for everybody. All right, and whoever can go first. Who do you least respect? Least respect in the blockchain and crypto community?
What? What is that question?
Who do you dislike in the blockchain world?
Satoshi?
No, who you don't like?
Who do you not like?
Who do you not like? Fake Toshi. Who is Fake Toshi?
Who likes fake Toshi?
I don't even know that.
I don't even know who Fake
Oh.
Toshi is.
Oh yeah, so the guy who claimed he's Satoshi, but
Oh,
everyone.
that's that Craig Wright dude down in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I don't think.
Craig
anyone-
Wright is not Satoshi.
Yeah, I don't think.
This is Satoshi. Who do you least disrespect in the community?
See, I was in the Valley like 8 years ago or 6 years ago, and the one thing I learned was I'll never knock anybody's business model. After seeing what Twitter did, it was like, you can build a business off this, and Instagram, so I'm just like, you know what, I'll never knock anybody's business idea or model because I have no idea what works out there and what goes. So I honestly, when you say just like, there's nobody I'll actually talk against, because like, shit, I don't know, maybe it'll work.
All right, so I'm going to ask Pavel the same question over drinks tonight,
Hey,
and
you'll
I'm
get
going
the
to
same
video
answer.
it, and I'm actually going to get some names out of them. So we're unfortunately a short session. So from my perspective, take it for what it's worth. These guys are actually building real companies using real technologies with real customers in the blockchain space, in the decentralized world. This is a rarity. So please take advantage of checking out Eximchain, checking out Bluzelle, catch these guys. They're going to come out right there. So catch them after the session and really talk about them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. Thanks, Zach.